Kanya is a child of the 1980s, and it came out of what had been a decade really of resistance to Bantu education. Kanya is born almost 10 years since June 16, 1976. It's 1986. And the education crisis had deepened in that time. A broader resistance to apartheid had come about. And I think the idea of Kanya, which is one can see in its slogan, was that a critique of apartheid education must bring about an alternative idea of what education must be. And thus was born the idea of education for liberation.
So for us it was, how do we empower black students? How do we empower black students, black people in particular from working class backgrounds, right? As part of changing the world, changing the composition of the society in which we live in a
very practical way, but it was an attempt to provide a bridging college for black students, primarily those interested in social justice issues, to begin to give an idea of giving them a platform that would bridge them into university life. It would prepare them for university, it would give them academic skills, it will give them an understanding of how to handle their subject, and it would make sure that they are successful. So the Kanya student, the typical Kanya curriculum would be, you do your schooling, you do your academic things, you do seminars, you begin to learn that kind of thing, but you also go and do organizing in a community. You either go and help in a trade union, you go help in an NGO, you go help in women's organizations, etc., etc. So the idea then was to develop, in a way, what used to be referred to as education with production, in a certain kind of way. Production here being, you could call it, if you want, a production of social consciousness.
Since it's a non-profit organization, just so we can get affordable books that we can give out to the kids, that we want them to equip themselves with knowledge. So yeah.
So that was the idea of Kanya College as it came about, as it emerged.
We have coordinators from our communities, we have home-based care workers, we have veterans, Ronnie Govender, we have veterans, James Matthews, we have veterans, Joan Rankins. There's so many of you. So I want to welcome you all. There's going to be a lot of welcomes, but to officially to say, why are we in the middle of the Science Stadium, in the middle of Wits University?
This is Wits University, so I am going to describe you as comrades. Welcome to this session, welcome to the Josie Book Fair, and welcome to the Josie Book Fair at Wits University.
Kanya felt that the ordinary people and the public at large didn't have spaces where they could converse about the world in which they live and act. They didn't have those spaces. There is no media in this country that's sensitive to poor people. They don't have platforms, they don't have their own television stations. So their stories are not told.
And so we were looking for a space where we could have theatre, music, cultural revival, cultural rebuilding, a festival kind of atmosphere that was not just literature. And that's when we thought about Wits University and said, let's approach Wits University because this could dovetail with the project about the transformation and the fact that we think Wits needs to be transformed and that Josie Book Fair could assist Wits as well.
And when we began to talk with Kanya College, one of the big things that we began to talk about is, if you are as pluralistic as you claim to be, how is it that the book fairs in this country tend to represent the interests of only the middle and upper middle classes? And why is it that your corporate events like this, tend to only attract a certain layer into Wits.
The first thing I look at, how do I make the space friendly to an audience that's not used to come to Wits? And how do we make the space again warm, as I said, friendly and warm? Therefore, we created a theater there, and then we created a stage, then there was a marquee at the center. And how do the spaces communicate with each other? And make sure that all the spaces, they communicate with each other, they communicate the spaces itself, so that when you are at the theater, or you are buying a book there, or we are at the jazz stage, you don't see different stages. Yes, they are different because they are at different locations, but they are there as one.
Well, you know what shocked me? People come here and they ask me like, "Is it for free?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's for free." They say, "No, don't lie." Yes, it is. But it's amazing. You know, you're educating the youngsters, especially for the children. It's wonderful stuff, I think.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
It is a book fair, you know, that focuses on the very, very grassroots, you see. What I saw last year, for instance, I saw Kanya College reaching out to inner city communities, to the townships, bringing together children, young readers, and so on.
We're going to be experiencing many new things and things we would like to see.
Also, this is our future place where we would be, so it's very exciting for us.
It encourages them to read, and it helps us also when we're teaching. It makes our lives much more easier, because then the learners learn they know the vocabulary, and you don't struggle. You know, when you teach, you don't struggle, and then you actually help them a lot.
What has been on display here is fantastic. The variety of activities, particularly focused on children, as well as the serious discussions that have taken place, it makes it alive, and it shows that the people who were planning it knew what they wanted to achieve, and it has given us as guests a wonderful exposure to a variety of activities at different levels, and also it has provoked a lot of thinking about different topics which are being discussed at the different panels that are on offer here.
You know, even if you choose. Now have a look.
Even the sunglasses.
Have you seen this? Yeah, all the sunglasses. We can do the sunglasses. Maybe there isn't an answer. Maybe it's one of those questions.
Absolutely. I think the young people, I mean, you know, to use the cliche, they are the future. And unless people start reading books, whether it's actually in books or on the internet or on their iPads or whatever else, it's absolutely critical to a good, broad education. And without reading, you can't go anywhere. So they have to read, and I hope the Josie Book Fair will encourage it.
The people who want to go to how to write a story or how to tell a story, please follow the first man there. 20 people, you must be 20. How to write a play. How to write a play. If you want to write your own play, follow.
What is important is that how will these children read their world? And for them to do that, they must learn how to read a book. Because you don't just read a book and read the words, which is why they can converse about the plot of the book, about the structure of the book, about the characters in the book, and they can begin then to argue and engage with the authors. And that's what surprises many authors, that these children, in a sense, engage about the nature of the plot, the choices that the author made, why that character did this and not this.
Can I ask, Sam, what is your inspiration behind this whole book, and how old were you when you wrote the book?
I found South Africans so fascinating with their different views, their different outlooks, and so on. So I was fascinated and inspired by what I saw in that bus. That despite the fact that we all had these conflicts, we were living together and trying to manage to live together. You know, all the workshops, I was talking with other writers. In my workshops today, I was amazed at the talent and the brilliance of these children, and outgoing and participating and asking questions. Not brilliant questions, I mean university level questions. What was going to be your your question.
Is it a fiction? Did you make up the story, or is it just true story? Currently, there's been news that Lens has turned to India, Gilbert has turned to Lagos, and China Mall has turned to Hong Kong. So I wanted to know, what is your political view of this South Africa?
I wondered, where do these children come from? Because we only hear bad stories about the education system in South Africa and so on. Where do these ones come from?
They have to do very basic things like, and I think which people take for granted, like book education. How do you treat a book? How do you look after a book? How do you page a book?
Yeah, we got to get young people to read, to find out about the universe around them. With social media coming in, people are very quick with their fingers, but are they quick with turning the pages? That's the question.
You start creating a literary tradition from the grassroots and from the youngest of generations. And if we can establish a literary tradition amongst our children, we will then absolutely see a bigger layer of our adults involved and immersed in the literary tradition. And so I think that it's fantastic that they've been able to do that.
Are you ready, brothers, sisters? Are you ready?
They loved, I think they liked the venue, and the venue was lovely, and they could move around and they could do things, etc. And then of course they did have a great show with Mamgina Mhlophe, you know. I mean, she's just a wonderful performer. She is so talented. She has a gift of just engaging, and the children love her.
Young people are not reading enough, but it's up to us to encourage them. It's up to us to enjoy reading so that they can see that we are enjoying it. If we enjoy fast food more than we enjoy books, what are they going to learn?
Absolutely. I think it's very important that they are able to at least speak their language and read as well. I think it's very important.
But have a passion for reading it. That's the thing, is to have a passion for reading it. Unfortunately, I've been looking at all the stalls today. There are books in not all 11 languages. Only in I've found about 4. So we are seriously lacking in our publishing industry in South Africa. In fact, many of them are published offshore. They are published in Finland and other countries. Makes me want to cry.
My Asian guides have given me this gift, and they didn't look at the nature of me. They didn't look at my sexuality. They didn't look at the color of my skin, but they said, there's a gift for you, and here it is. And I accepted it with all arms and limbs.
I think one of the big highlights as well of this year's book fair was the launch of Zekzimda and Mpapa Mokwane's Penny and Puffy, which is a children's story and a children's book. And they also translated the book into Sesotho. And the paintings, the illustrations in the book are done by Zekzimda. So this was a really special book, and it was very special for us because the 2 writers donated the book to the Jozi Book Fair so that we could republish the book and that the proceeds would go to the Jozi Book Fair, and because of their support and their commitment to what we're trying to do. And I think the concept of that was really good in terms of how we're wanting to build a movement. That kind of generosity of writers working with the Jozi Book Fair, working with readers, wanting to create readers as well, you know, that there's that consciousness from them.
Reading and writing. Reading and writing is the most powerful weapon across the world. You can't compare reading and writing than anything. By reading and writing, you can read the instruction on a medicine bottle. You can feel the form of environment. You can feel the form of your organization. You can share your dream. You can share stories and book with our friend Tisha family and community members. When you read, your mind expands, encourages your imagination. Pambili Community Reading Club, Pambili Community Reading Club.
Time flies when you're having fun. Yesterday might not be the same as today. Today might not be the same as tomorrow. So enjoy it while it lasts. Love life to the fullest. Enjoy every minute of every hour of every day. Love life as if life goes, because today might be your last day.
Just know, if you come visit Africa, know that we all love you and we love you so much.
I want to say as well that the children contribute towards their books. They contribute because Kanya subsidizes, Josie Book Fair subsidizes. We make sure that each child goes home with a book, because we think it's important not just to have a book in the library, not just to read the books that you must share the whole year. You come to Josie Book Fair, you get a new book that will have your name in there and it will belong to you, so that you can go home and have a library that you can share with others. And we try to give the children at the schools different books so that they can share the books as well, because we want them to share books with each other. We had a very, very a stunning, a brilliant roundtable discussion with 4 of them, the legends. We had Don Matera, we had James Matthews, we had Ronnie Govender, and we had Keropetse Hosetsile. It was really a very graceful way of also looking at aging, I think, for us as the Josie Book Fair. You know what I mean? Because as an audience, we were also engaging them, listening to them. They were struggling to find their pages, and they were, just the human side, I felt, came out so beautifully. And at the same time, when they found that page, they then made that poem,
If I were asked about the relationship between poetry and music, I would say without music in any language, there would be no poetry.
Rage, sharp as a blade, to cut and slash and spill blood. For only blood can appease the blood spilled over 300 years.
Why the once still faces of heroic stalwarts glows with the fat of greed.
Cato Manor, running barefoot to school, marbles jangling in bulging pockets, spoils of staring victories, Vinayagam's fretwork saw, cutting out his ornate wonder.
Biko came to change minds. Umuntu Gamieza, a great giant, a soldier, a warrior. The highest religion in the world is compassion, caring, giving, worrying, shielding, standing up. So you cannot come to a lecture and think that you will hear one thing, because it's everything.
The one who tells lies is not a threat to anybody in power who wants to control people. Could you be intimidated into saying things that are comfortable for other people? No publisher, no recording, no music recording studio, no one are interested in the promotion of culture. They are interested in making money.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we think first that the Josie Book Fair, if it's to be real, it must deal with the burning questions of the country.
Is whether the question of the transformation of universities is an issue of the historically white universities, or is it an issue of the transformation of higher education as such?
The Vice-Chancellor and other Vice-Chancellors have not shown serious commitment to transforming institutions.
I'm telling you now, I'm into transformation. Here's the dilemma. How do you do transformation in a neoliberal world?
Now, what you have is that black students have arrived at a point where they are going to demand the impossible in order that from that impossible they may redeem the possible.
More than empathizing and listening to what people are saying, I need to be reflexive and understand that I am implicit in the problem.
If Adam Habib is saying he's anti-neoliberal. We should be getting him involved in marching, in mobilization, in saying, okay, let's take you on your word.
I think it's a wonderful event. I think it's fantastic how it's happening. I think it's fantastic just the debates. I just came out of a debate, as you know, which was very robust and very critical. That's fine, that's the nature of the debate.
The families of the mine workers haven't received justice as yet, and that there will be a civil society inquiry that will be set up by civil society organizations to try to uncover the truth and be able to pursue justice for those families.
First, on the issue of knowing who, how, and when, the commission failed dismally. It wasn't because the information wasn't there. The information was there, but the report leaves it out intentionally.
For far too long, the left has separated the personal and the political. As if you can occupy one thing and say this and make people, why don't you believe me? Well, I don't believe you because you don't practice what you preach.
Arrogance. And I'm pleased that there seems to be some agreement about the idea of formulating in a bottom-up participatory way some image of where we want to be. Because if we don't know that, nothing will take us there. I want to thank Kanya College for having organized these 2 days. It's doing precisely what Dale and Dinga have both argued for, building people's capacities. So thank you especially to you, Maria, thank you to Dale, thank you to Dinga, and thanks to all of you for coming. Good.
The key issue that we want to define the Jozi Book Fair is that it is not just us sitting in an office at Kanya saying this issue, that issue, that issue. We want to get to a point where people feel if we want our issue to be aired, then the Jozi Book Fair is the space for it. They will bring their issue there. They will say to us, look, we want to host a panel on nuclear power because we think that's an important thing. We want to host a panel on gangsterism and drugs because we think that's an important issue. So that it's a space for the voice of the citizens.